Gimli is everyone's favorite dwarf.
The time I get this adjusted.
Now, to be honest, I don't think I can name all that many other dwarves, except for Dwalin, Balin, Fili, Kili, Dori, Nori, Ori, Oin, Gloin, Bifur, Boffer, Bombur, and Thorin. That's about all the dwarves I know. And Gimli is still at the top of my list. Most movie watchers absolutely love him, and his humor. If anyone hasn't seen the extended edition, I die of laughter every time Gimli steps on the skeletons to get to the dead army. My family would always play that back multiple times and just crack up at that scene. It's absolute gold. And John Rhys Davies is such a good actor to play Gimli too. And it's wild because watching these movies, some 20 to 30 times growing up, I always loved Gimli the best. I loved his tenacity, his one-liners that I still quote to this day, and I loved his ability to burp at the most inopportune moment. But now that I am reading through Lord of the Rings for the first time in my entire life, I am infuriated at Gimli. And shameless plug too, make sure you like and subscribe. My name is Jonathan and I am going through the Lord of the Rings for the first time in my entire life, publishing video essays about my read-through. So if you are into that thing, which I think you probably would be if you're watching this video, make sure you subscribe and also like the video. I think some of you would really like the book reviews that I do if you want to vicariously live through someone who is reading this glorious text for the first time. And I have to say, again, Gimli himself doesn't infuriate me, but it makes me so mad at what they did to him in the movies. He is an absolute force in the book. Easily my favorite character of the entire book so far. And every single moment that comes up for him, I love him more and more. You think Gimli was good in Moria in the movies? Wait till you see the awe and honor and support this dwarf shows when he steps into and out of Moria. You thought that the movie portrayed a good scene with Gimli when he talks about receiving the 3 hairs from Galadriel? Oh, you sweet summer child. Gimli in the books is much more romantic than Jane Austen could ever be. You think he's calm in the face of Éomer here? Well, in the book, Gimli is ready to rip Éomer's head off with his bare hands because Éomer insulted Galadriel. He's fierce, loyal, and beyond honorable in the book. So much more so than the movie. And it drives me crazy too because John Rhys Davies is such a good talent. And I keep coming to these moments in the book that are just so cool. And then I'm so mad that the movie's just completely cut out. And I just got to the Helm's Deep chapter. And again, I want to just say that I truly love him in the movies and laugh at every single one of his lines. But Book Gimli is just a force. And instead of this brilliant book moment that I will talk about in a second, we just got comedic relief. And again, don't get me wrong, I do love these moments. Like when Gimli hits the Uruk-hai Berserker in the Ween, or when he goes between the legs of another one and hits him straight in the armor. And Book Gimli does have moments of honor. Like him jumping full scale into the incoming Uruk-hai. I mean, it's a little foolish seeing that there are like 50 spears pointing straight up in the air, and that could have gone very badly. But movie Gimli is much more about the laughs than he is about the honor, or even the ferocity. He seems to lack any real battle ability, if I'm completely honest. He's not swift, but he's more like about power, and his armor makes him slow and lumbering. It's hard to believe that he's really a fierce person in this war, or in this battle. But the books have this one line that had me standing up and cheering for Gimli because it was such a cool description of Gimli that I immediately rethought of him in this way. Now, the whole entire sequence and scene of Helm's Deep is different in a lot of major and minor ways. But this scene in the book essentially comes right here, when they are on the ramp up to the gate of Helm's Deep. Now, the toss me scene isn't in the book anywhere, but what is that Éomer is there the entire battle. He was excited to fight side by side with Aragorn, so he was in Edoras when the king was freed from Grima and came to fight by the king's side immediately. Gandalf is actually going after another man named Erkenbrand, who has about 1,000 foot soldiers, who were ambushed by Uruk-hai, and Gandalf wants to go save them and bring them to save the day at Helm's Deep. So in the book, Éomer and Aragorn go to the gate to inspect it rather than the whole toss me scene. At the moment, Gimli is nowhere to be seen. He's not really mentioned all that much in this chapter too, but you'll be glad to know that they still do have their kill competition, he and Legolas. And Gimli wins that one. Although I do have to kind of say I have a theory that Legolas had more and only let Gimli win because he saw the state that Gimli was in after the battle. He had a big gash in his head and he just didn't look that great. And he just wanted to raise Gimli's spirits a little bit, which is sweet of Legolas. But that's not really anywhere in the text. It's just like, a head theory or a head canon that I came up with. But Aragorn and Éomer go to the causeway to inspect the gate, and the Uruk-hai aren't there. But there's a bunch of dead orc all lying about. And this is what the text says. For a moment, Éomer and Aragorn halted before the gates. The thunder was rumbling in the distance now. The lightning flickered still, far off among the mountains in the south. A keen wind was blowing from the north again. The clouds were torn and drifting, and stars peeped out. And above the hills of the Coombe side, the western moon rode, glimmering yellow in the storm rack. We did not come too soon, said Aragorn, looking at the gates. Their great hinges and iron bars were wrenched and bent. Many of their timbers were cracked. The doors will not withstand another such battering. Yet we cannot stay here beyond the wall to defend them, said Éomer. Look! He pointed to the causeway. Already a great press of orcs and men were gathering again beyond the stream. Arrows whined and skipped on the stones about them. Come, we must get back and see what we can do to pile stones and beams across the gate within. Come now. They turned and ran. At that moment, some dozen orcs that had lain motionless among the slain leaped to their feet and came silently and swiftly behind. Two flung themselves to the ground at Éomer's heels, tripped him, and in a moment they were on top of him. But a small dark figure that none had observed sprang out of the shadows and gave a hoarse shout. Baruch Kazad! Kazad Aimenu! An axe swung and swept back. Two orcs fell headless. The rest fled. Éomer struggled to his feet, even as Aragorn ran back to his aid. In one fell swoop, Gimli beheaded two orcs. I mean, I don't think we got something like this, which is the swift and nimble moves from Gimli in all three movies. And I love the descriptions of him too, lurking in the shadows like he was protecting these two men who were looking at the gate, making sure nothing bad happened to them. And when Éomer was tripped and Aragorn was running back, Gimli springs out of nowhere and just decapitates two of them. And not only that, but the rest flee because they are terrified of Gimli and want nothing to do with that axe that he's wielding. And all this just makes me want this in the movie. This could have been a perfect placement in the movie, not just to show the humor of Gimli, because after this moment, Gimli goes running to Legolas and says he has 2 kills already, and Legolas says that he has at least 20. But also the ability that this dwarf has in battle would be something so fun to actually see in the movie, because he's just played kind of for comedic relief. Even in the Moria scene, when he's like, there's one dwarf yet in Moria who still draws breath, he doesn't really do anything after that in the movie, because he's like jumping around and running everywhere, and he almost gets murdered by the cave troll, but kind of just gets alive by luck, if I'm being honest. He doesn't really seem to have a ton of ferocity in that entire battle, and really in the entire 3 movies. I kind of see this scene like Gimli's chance to really shine in the film, and I feel like they just missed it. I kind of see this whole scene even as like an anime scene, if I'm honest. Like all of a sudden, out of nowhere, moving like a shadow out of the shadows, Gimli comes screaming and lands. Then you just get a shot of Gimli in a pose that resembles like a Marvel movie pose, and then he gets up and turns around and looks at Aragorn, who's like jaws dropped, and then all of a sudden the 2 heads of the standing orcs that are standing right behind him just fall off and bounce down the causeway. Oh, like I have such a cool picture in my head of this. Like that would be so cool to have that in the films. And there are just so many of these incredible moments that Gimli has in the book that they just missed or entirely skipped over in the movie. And it makes me really sad the more that I read it, because I think he is maybe one of my favorite characters, not only in this book, but in all of literature at this point in my read. If I ever have a son, you better believe Gimli is on the board for names. At the very least, if I get another dog, I might have to name him Gimli. But Gimli in the books is a much more fierce warrior. He is much more honorable. He is cheery and comedic, yes, in the book he is very much those things, but he reveres both his culture, his fellowship, and above all, the Lady Galadriel. In the beginning of the next chapter, his helm is destroyed because he was hit with an Uruk blade, and his axe is knocked because he hit an orc who had an iron collar on his neck. It's just like everything that he does, I just love. I cannot get enough of Book Gimli, and I just want more and more of him in every single chapter. I want his agility and honor to come out more in the movies too, because in the book, Gimli is just the greatest. And I don't know if I'm ever going to really get off my soapbox about Gimli. I think he's my favorite. But let me know who you have a crush on in these books, because Gimli is mine. Let me know in the comments who your favorite character is, and I'm actually curious too who your favorite character was on your first ever read. Make sure you like the video, subscribe too, and I will see you in the next one.